Hello, hello, my friends. It is Tuesday, October 3rd, and I need some deep guidance today. So we're going to pull from my personal favorite, the Lantern Oracle. This is the one I use for me when I need help, and right now I need help. And if you follow my other channel, you know that I had to have a very hard conversation with my children today. It was heartbreaking watching them cry. So let's see what we've got. And today we have Spirit Self, be who you are as you are, one of my favorites, Weeping Wound, you are not your wounds, and Distorted Perceptions. Reality is rarely what we are raised to believe it is. Let's dig in. All right, let's see how far I can get without crying. If you are going through some shit right now, you are not alone. Me too. This right here is your reminder to not apologize for who you are. You are who you're supposed to be. Sometimes we need to remind ourselves to embrace ourselves, to remind ourselves that we don't have to fit someone else's perception. We don't have to fit the mold that someone else wants us to fit. And if you're going through some shit right now, like I am, there are plenty of people telling you everything that you should or shouldn't do, everything that you should or shouldn't be. And this is your affirmation to tell them to shut the fuck up. Some of us can fake the funk, but for those of us that are burnt out or otherwise can't or don't want to, there's nothing wrong with finding a path that values you who you are without forcing you to conform into something else. Weeping wounds, this is deep. We are not our hurt. We are not our past. We are not our trauma. We are not our wounds. Sometimes the only way to deal with something is to go right through it. That means you might need to take some time to feel the stuff you don't want to feel. It might be time to share the things you didn't want to share, to talk to people, to let it out. It sucks. It's painful. Sometimes it's even embarrassing, but you can't get to that next page. You can't get through it without feeling all of it. And if that means some tears are shed in the meantime, it'll be all right in the end. Use my personal life as an example. I had that difficult chat with my kids. I didn't pull this card before I had the discussion. I pulled these cards just before this video. So it's interesting that this is what came up because this is exactly what I had to do. So I already had a deep chat with my kids before I did this pull, before I even saw this card. It was time. I had to do it. I had told them not to worry about the situation until I tell them, hey, things might have to go to plan B. And this is the month where things might have to go to plan B. If things don't work out by the end of the month, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll have to split them up. I don't know who's going to take care of who. I don't know where I'm going to go, but that's the reality of the situation. And there were tears and it was hard and painful, but it was the first step to acknowledging something difficult that we may have to do. Distorted perceptions, reality is rarely what we perceive it to be. This is the next step that comes after that emotional cleansing. After you get through those wounds, after you have those hard talks, after you share that information you didn't really want to share, but you need to in order to get to the next place. Have you ever noticed that sometimes when you have one of those raw, natural breakdowns where you just lose it, you let it all out, you don't care what people think, you don't care, you just got to get it out. Have you noticed that afterwards, at some point, maybe not immediately, things start to shift? Your perception starts to shift. You start to see and feel things differently and come up with new alternatives, new solutions, new ideas, things that weren't coming to you before. That is this right here. Right now, if you're still in the middle of it, like me, the haze is fuzzy. You can't really see what you're supposed to do next because you've got all these wounds and feelings and issues to deal with. You got to get that out, let it out, cry about it, have a few days in the cave. And at the end of that, you will see the clouds start to part and opportunities, paths, alternatives, options, whatever it is, depending on your situation, will start to show themselves to you, whether you're thinking of them or the opportunities land in your doorstep. Bottom line is going through it gets you to the end where you readjust that perception. A lot of the negativity that brought you to the wounded place has been passed through, and now you can work on new visions, new directions, new paths, and hopefully new solutions. Anyway, if you're having a hard time, you are not alone. Work your way through it. It's okay to feel it. It's okay to feel a sense of security in who you are and not wanting to change that. Don't let someone make you feel guilty about that. get through the wounded part, let it out, work through it, and be ready to clear the old perceptions and make way for the new ones. Feel me? Now I've got my fingers, toes, and eyeballs crossed because this message is for me too today.